Welcome back to Naivasha for Safari Rally Kenya, day 3, halfway through the day. And yes, the rain has come, and it has come in absolute full force. Now, the point is, it isn't actually raining on the stages at the moment, the information that we're getting in. It is absolutely chucking it down. That was Lappy just walking through the service park. It's actually got heavier since that moment. Chenny's really supportive in this. There's a drip coming down here, which has been trying to push me
that way, isn't it? Just under there.
For ages.
Just about there.
But the rain is literally in full effect. Would you like to call it heavenly now, or would you like to call it biblical?
This is biblical rain, and I love it. This is what it's all about. More of this, please. I think it's great.
More of it.
Absolutely. This is what it's all about. We don't see weather like this and conditions like this on other rallies. I told you.
Rich is saying his rain dance came out.
I told you, special things happen when I do it.
Rich, do you have a special rain dance for us? Would you like to go there?
Not one that can reproduce this. I think Chenny is the master of that, but if he's done it on the stages as well, we're in for a surprise. Did you go for stages or just service park?
Stages. Well, and service park. Let's just all have a good old dousing. Everybody likes to drop a rain, mate.
I've got a question for you. Just talking to Gregoire then, what was the conversation? Are we going to restart? Where are we at?
Yeah, we'll restart. The damage isn't so big, but unfortunately one of the bolts in the suspension was bent in the impact, and that's very difficult to get out of the bracket it was in. So he just ran out of time trying to get it out, but I think he knows where the mistake was made. Unfortunately, it was probably something that was in the pace notes, but it's such fine lines here, just cut and hit the stone, which instantly sheared, snapped in half, or cut in half the suspension arm. So he did a great job to get to the end and a really good job to try and repair. You know, he's been to the factory for a couple of days to do some training, and he really was a lot more advanced in what he was trying to do compared to where we were at the start of the season. So it's something we're working on with the crew to help them. But yeah, it was just too much this time.
Well, solace in the fact that it literally happened to pretty much every other team out there.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's where looking at Adrian and a steady drive, and yes, losing time in that long stage, he was losing 40 odd seconds to Elvin at one point. So obviously going to get the position back. And then the penultimate split, Elvin starts dropping, and then we're 2 seconds lost to him, but with no punctures. So, you know, I think there's definitely, slow and steady isn't always the most exciting way to try and win a race, and anything could happen this afternoon. But I think just the approach that we're trying to take at the moment has shown again today, you know, how it can work out all right for us. So, yeah, okay, if it really is raining like this on the stages, then this afternoon's going to be wild. But I think what Adrian's done so far has been fantastic. So, yeah, really good.
Definitely. All right, we'll leave you there. We'll leave you in peace. We're going to hand over to Gregoire's interview, which was with Bex Williams a little bit earlier on. He went down to the media zone, and then we'll check back in with you.
You are completely covered in mud and dirt. You've been working hard to get the car back. Tell me exactly what's gone on out there.
So we touched a rock hiding under the bushes on the rear left, and basically we bent most of the arms. And broke one. We wanted to change the broken one, but as everything was bent, it was impossible to put it back into place. And we needed a full TCA, which we didn't carry as well. So yeah, it was game over.
Disappointing, because the rally been going so well for you. But is it, you know, when you look around you and you see how many problems other people have had as well, it's not just you out there. It's a tough rally, Gregoire, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure, it's a tough rally. I think now it's just the fact it's been 3 rallies in a row where it's not going as good as we would hope. And yeah, that's a bit difficult mentally, but there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. So hopefully we can go again tomorrow to grab the experience of the safari, and then for the next one try to have a decent result.
All right, well, that was Gregoire Munster. As Rich was saying, he sort of spent some time. It really is a lot about that, isn't it? It's when it goes wrong, being able to try. And I mean, he put in the best effort he could to try and fix it, but a lot of the time that effort does pay.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the first things first, it's just a real shame for Gregoire Munster, isn't it? Because he was, and Rich was talking about it there, he was saying, let's get out of this rain, Kiri, shall we? He was saying that the slow and steady approach often is not the most exciting thing to look at, but on a rally like this, it's absolutely the way to go. I think for Gregoire, it was just very unlucky what happened. They did all they could to get the car repaired, and just unfortunately one of those things. But another learning opportunity, and in these conditions and with the experience that he's got, he has to take every learning experience as a positive, because these things happen in rallying. That's the way it goes, and you only learn from doing. So, but yeah, a shame for Gregoire because he was doing a good job. Now all eyes on Adrian Fourmeau here at M Sport.
Yeah, again, Rich talking about Adrian, it is a slow and steady wins the race type of situation. So we will be, what we're at now, which is what I wanted to remind you about, was the fact that it's the service now. So everybody's back, they're back off those stages. Let's see, we'll get the information in about the rain as and when it's coming in. Has it spread up to the stages? So we've been in the media zone. Bex Williams has been doing those interviews, and we'll be just sort of going around the services behind us. Jordan Seradides getting his, anything there that you've seen? Nothing? That should be just fairly routine?
No, fairly routine. Jordan had a bit of an issue out on the stage, didn't he, where he got caught in the fesh this morning, but it cleared. They changed the air filter. All the cars actually, incidentally, go out with air filters in the back of the car, so they can change them at the end of every single stage if they want to. Yeah, for Jordan, it's a reasonably steady service. I cannot tell you. Can we just swing the camera around and just try and get an idea of just how...
Just insane. It's just literally insane amounts of rain. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be doing on the stages. We will get that information because we've got obviously all our camera crews out there as well as everybody else. Julian Porter, Molly Pettit, they're all out there as well. So as soon as we're learning more about what the conditions are, we'll update you. But Bex Williams, as we were saying, was in the media zone, and I believe that she was with Adrian Fourmeau. So let's head down and find out what he's got to say.
What a morning loop we have seen out there, Adrian. A mixture of conditions, some really tough stages. Can we say that we enjoyed it at the end of it or not?
Yes. To be fair, on the rocky place, I was quite careful. But when it was much smoother, I was pushing, and then I was really enjoying, because the first stage especially, it was really, really nice to drive. On the last one, there was some really nice part, but it's much rougher, so it was easy to get a puncture or damage the car. It was a really interesting morning, to be fair. A big challenge.
It is always a big challenge, though, on the Saturday here, because you add in Sleeping Warrior to the mix, and it just changes the entire rally, it seems.
Yes, and we can look at our split, and when we slow down in a quite tricky place, we lose like 2 seconds per K, and then after that we are in the same game, then we lose again. So, but it's the approach we want to have on this rally, quite sensible, and it seems to be working because I think we are still fourth, so not so far from the podium. So it's positive. The rally is still long this afternoon. The rain is probably coming, so it's going to be a challenge. The wildlife also is quite interesting. They surprise us when we are in fifth gear, flat out. So it's really easy to hit one animal, unfortunately.
That's another factor of it all here, isn't it? How much information are you getting before the stages of what kind of condition they're in? Certainly from the weather crew, or even just watching the videos.
We've got from the weather crew, but you imagine that on 36K stage, we have only one part. So the info that we've got is not so much compared to what we could have. Also, the service is quite poor sometimes when we are in the middle of nowhere. So we don't have so many informations. So we try to get everything we can and the maximum, but it's really little compared to the length of the stage.
Okay, well, just as if we planned it, Adrian Fourmeau pulls in behind us. The rain is pouring down, the heavens have opened, and here is the service starting on Adrian Fourmeau's car. Let's just touch on what he said there, and let's talk about what you think he's going to do this afternoon. More of slow and steady potentially wins the race.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen other people falling by the wayside when they've been running into problems, and Adrian Fourmeau hasn't been running into problems. He's been keeping it neat and tidy and doing what he's got to do. I think it would be very silly at this stage, particularly with the conditions due to get even more difficult, for him to change that strategy. He needs to just go out and drive the car as he has been doing. If he starts to dial it up a little bit, that's when you're more likely to pick up a puncture. That's when you're at risk of throwing a car off and picking out some damage, as we saw Gregoire doing, unfortunately. So, all eyes are on M Sport, and to be honest, because Gregoire's not running anymore, the pressure is on Adrian Fourmeau to pick up some points. So yeah, I think you're right, just slow and steady, Thierry.
Yeah, all right. Well, although Gregoire isn't running for the rest of the afternoon, as Rich was saying, he'll restart tomorrow. Super Sunday comes into play. There are additional points. Our point system changing this year, which means tomorrow Esa-Pekka Lappi, Oitanang, Gregor Munster, and the list may continue. Ethan Elvin Evans are going to be on a real push tomorrow for points.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was just so much action this morning to talk about, and we'll work our way through it as we always do. But yeah, there was an awful lot, and again, I don't actually think we've seen the end of the retirement list today with Gregor Munster, particularly with the conditions as they are. It's incredibly tricky out there, and there's a lot of pressure on particularly the likes of Thierry Neuville, Takamoto Katsuta, and probably more than anybody else, Elvin Evans this afternoon to start to close the gap.
Where can Elvin go from here? What is the plan? Because obviously we're talking slow and steady. Elvin doesn't want to do any crazy pushes, but this is really where he could make a difference as well. It's going to be a difficult place to find the happy medium.
He's in a really difficult position, and I think really, Kiri, he's kind of relying on somebody else having a bit of a problem, and that's sort of where we're at. Elvin picking up that double puncture this morning, and that's cost him. He's gone from second place down to fifth, and the gaps are big enough for him to be. Maybe he can do something about Adrian Fourmeau in front of him, but I think to try and reel in Taka or Thierry Neuville is a big ask on pace alone.
Yeah, well, while you're talking about Thierry Neuville, it sort of played against Elvin and into Thierry's hands, and it definitely looked good for Thierry. So how did his morning feel? Let's find out with Bex Williams.
Thierry, Saturday morning, any loop of stages which includes Sleeping Warrior here is always going to be a bit of a challenge, isn't it? And what a morning we've seen out there. How have you found it?
Yeah, challenging. I mean, there's no other word, definitely. I mean, the first two stages were dry, but already very difficult. And a couple of things happened over there. Sleeping Warrior, we knew it would be the deciding stage of the rally, and it probably will hit some of us again this afternoon, hopefully it does, but it's a very challenging and tough stage, and lots of stones everywhere, so anything can happen, but we got through without any major issue. We just had no hybrid for the whole stage. So, not the greatest performance, but still I was happy with my drive.
You're in second position now, and it was a great battle with Taka over two stages until, unfortunately, Sleeping Warrior hit Taka. What did you think when you saw the response from Taka first thing this morning to keep ahead of you? Did you think, oh, I've got to put my foot down here?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was no surprise. We all know Taka since a while, and has always been like this. He attacks straight away from the first meter. For me, it was more about getting through, getting the good feeling, finding the rhythm. I slowed down a bit much in some of the sections for where the big walks were, but at the end, I got through without any real trouble. So, and we catch second place, so I can't be complaining.
I don't know if I want to ask, what is it going to be like on the second pass? Because we're hearing the rain is coming. I mean, this was promised a bit last year, and we saw isolated showers, but big rain maybe this afternoon. What are you hearing, Neuville? Tell me.
Yeah, I heard about some drops. Might be possible.
Some drops.
Yeah, some drops might be possible. So it could be a bit wet out there, but I mean, it's very often very local showers, and yeah, it depends on your road position, whether you get through or not. So we don't know what to expect, to be honest. I think we're going to prepare for rain, and then it will be just about surviving anyhow. I mean, we had a bit of training this morning with a few muddy and sleepy places, but I think the real challenge will be the afternoon loop.
You talk like a local about the weather, and I've actually got a new job for you. When you retire from rallying, you're going to be a ranger here, because at the Masai Mara of the weekend, you spotted every animal. You were the spotter.
Yeah, that's true. That's
you
true.
were pretty impressive.
I was the spotter.
That's what you can do after rallying, a ranger here in Kenya. What do you think?
I'm sure I have something better to do.
Okay, well,
not I'm going to find something
I'll
better.
give up with my career's advice then. Thanks, Thierry.
I like the career advice though, Bex. I can't even explain to you. We are wading through what is now a lake as a service park. Cheney, I think, went through a safer route, but we are looking at the work that's being done on the cars at Hyundai at the moment. But it is literally now a lake. I think the Toyotas might need to snorkel to get back to their service bay.
A little puddle there. I'm glad I wasn't stood beside that thing coming in.
Wow. It's
look,
wet.
as you say, we're getting rivers through the service park here, and this is what I know it's not what the drivers want to see, but this is what I would like to see consistently out on one of the stages this afternoon, because I think it'll certainly throw the rally on its head, and we can see images now of the cars being serviced, the Hyundais being serviced. Thierry Neuville, as we were saying earlier, the real winner, I think, today, Kiri. Elvin Evans struggling, Thierry Neuville up to second place overall. Obviously, he did lose the hybrid on that final stage, but other than that, his morning was fairly steady Eddie, wasn't it? There was no real dramas for the Belgian man, and he finds himself up in second place now, and comfortably ahead of Takamoto Katsuta after, unfortunately, Taka also picked up a puncture.
All right, eyes just inside Hyundai at the moment. Having a look, Thierry got a very bright waterproof. I think waterproofs are in order at the moment, to say the least. Again, we will keep updating you. From what I understand, there isn't rain on the stages just yet. Jenny, are you trying to get out of a river?
Yeah, I'm just moving. We're sinking here.
Jenny's got some questionable footwear on for the moment.
I chose poorly. You did all right. Everybody else here did all right. I chose poorly. There we are.
Right, well, we are just whizzing through all of these interviews. So as we're at Hyundai looking at Cyril Abiteboul, we may as well head in and find out how Esa-Pekka Lappi is feeling. All the thunder's going. I'm not sure Brawley's is a good idea. Right, to Esa-Pekka Lappi now.
EP, you've been first on the road, back in action today. I know you put a big shout out to the team to thank them for getting the car ready for you today, but how has it been first on the road?
Not so bad. I was surprised actually how fun it has been. Yeah, some sections probably it's not an advantage to be first on the road, but then I don't think it has been a massive disadvantage as well. So probably a bit so and so. So yeah, it's been good. I've been actually having fun.
We've seen some contrasting conditions on stages. The first one very, very dry, and then you get to Sleeping Warrior, and we've got mud and standing water. That looked particularly tricky at the start.
Yeah, especially at the start. Yeah, there was one left immediately, a couple of meters. 100 meters after the start, which caught me already. I was really surprised about the grip level in there. And then later on we had this muddy section with big puddles, but it was actually quite okay. There was not any massive surprises in the end. You could see far enough to understand what's going on. So yeah, it was demanding, but not too crazy.
Quite a bit of tyre damage in that stage as well. How rocky was it towards the end of Sleeping Warrior?
Oh, really? I mean, we got a puncture every stage actually, so it was a bit of a survival to come here, but we managed. But yeah, it's the first stage. It was my mistake, but on the next two, I have no idea. I think there has been some sharp rock going through the top of the tire. It's impossible to avoid all the rocks on this Sleeping Warrior. Same the middle stage. I mean, there is so many of them, and you try to keep the car on the road, and suddenly you get the warning. So I guess it's a matter of luck sometimes as well. That can you make through without a puncture?
Good luck out there this afternoon, then.
Thanks.
A matter of luck, Jenny, indeed.
Yeah, I mean, look, he said there he had a puncture on every single stage. Now, fortunately, not massive deflations where it's delaminating the car and making a mess of it. But I think that just goes to show, that highlights really how difficult the conditions are, and they are set to become even more difficult this afternoon. In particular, the Sleeping Warrior stage this morning, that was just eating tyres. And as we said in the commentary, and as Esa-Pekka Lappi just said there, when you come across a rock, there's nowhere you can go. You can't avoid them. So
unless you're Kalle Rovanperä.
Unless seemingly you're Kalle Rovanperä, yeah. But
and actually a bit of Adrian Formeau. To be fair, both of them have done pretty well. I think we had four tyre problems in the Sleeping Warrior stage. As Esa-Pekka said, he had a puncture at every single stage. So this afternoon, even more rocks will be dragged out. There's more cars going through. It is going to be even more difficult. So if you were questioning whether to stick with us, I think the answer is very definitely yes. Now, we are standing outside Hyundai just watching the services. So we'll go to Oit, listen into how he's feeling, and then we'll come back and have a chat about what's going on around here.
I don't know where to start really this morning. It's been quite busy for you. It's a word you've used. Talk me through it. Let's start at the road section before we even got into the first stage this morning. You said you had some work to do on the car. What happened there?
Yeah, we had unfortunately some random things we had to take care before going to stage. Otherwise it was going to be tricky and yeah, it was quite tight in time, and then yeah, going into the stage just before the start, Martin couldn't find his wire as well for the intercom. Finally, we found just a minute before start, but then yeah, the bonnet pin was not in, so I had to go and close this, and yeah, then the middle stage we didn't have intercom at all anymore, and yeah, it was a bit entertaining. But no, I mean, in the end, like random small things, but still kept us busy.
You're not going to give us any more indication on what the random things are, no?
It was nothing special.
Okay. You mentioned obviously that we could see Martin giving you hand signals to get you through the stage. Kind of lucky in a way, I guess, that it was more of an open stage than some of the others on that one.
Yeah, but when it's so open and very high speed and all these artificial stones and things, to see all this without knowing is tricky. So had to keep the eyes open and little marching. But yeah, obviously we've done the stage before, so yeah, some bad places I remembered.
Sleeping Warrior you've done before as well, and it's always tricky. We always see a bit of rain falling here. We did have overnight rain, which caused some muddy sections at the start. How difficult was it in there this time?
Yeah, actually the muddy sections were much more muddy than I expected. We knew there can be some wet places, but since the first corner already was quite a surprise, and then we again had to keep the eyes open because they were just random places. So quite challenging, and yeah, in some reason we were also stuck with the animals in the longest straight. So it was really like in a very busy zoo. So. Lost a bit time there, but yeah, in the end we just tried to keep the tires on the rim because yeah, the last 15K was very rough.
What are we hearing about this afternoon and the big rain that has been talked about pretty much all week? Are we expecting rain this afternoon?
I guess it's Kenya. We have to see. It's very difficult to forecast here. So yeah, normally it's been rainy every afternoon, here. So. I don't think today will be any different.
Good luck this afternoon, Oit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the irony of this at the moment is our very own Seb Marshall just came and had a chat with us. I miss him as an umbrella holder because he was so tall. He managed to cover us all. But he said still bone dry on the stages. Whether that will remain the same or not, I don't know. But for now, bone dry. Let's dip into what Oit said then. There was a whole plethora of problems, and you actually know of more.
Well, look, I mean, he just had it all thrown at him, didn't he, really, Kiri, this morning? I mean, first of all, before he even got to the start of the stage, he was talking about having to work on the car. I believe it was something to do with the door not latching properly, so he had to get stuck into that. And then, as a result of working on the car, unfortunately, that bonnet pin wasn't properly secured, so that was a bit of an issue for him. And then, of course, intercom issues and everything else. So he's had a fairly busy morning, hasn't he? Fortunately, he's currently, as a result of what happened yesterday, he's not in the fight for the lead or for the podium positions as a result of that retirement yesterday. So he was able to pull over and relatch the bonnet. But yeah, a difficult morning for Oit Tanak. But I think in general, the positive that they can take from both Esa-Pekka Lappi and from Oit Tanak is that the pace has been there. We've seen it on the split times. We've seen it in the times that Esa-Pekka Lappi's been able to show as well.
It's going to be very interesting tomorrow because Kalle has a significant lead, which means that he doesn't necessarily need to push. He's going to back his points overnight tonight if nothing changes through these stages, which means then it is all open and to play for Oit Tanak, Esa-Pekka Lappi, but in particular Oit Tanak, he needs to maximise these points, and so does Elvin Evans. So Sunday, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I think Elvin will be doing everything he can to ring in Adrian Fourmeau and this afternoon. But yeah, there's no question, you're right. As a result of the new point structure on Sunday, Oit Tanak and Esa-Pekka Lappi will be going flat out with different jobs. Esa-Pekka Lappi will be going flat out to try and take points away from the regulars like Elvin Evans and those guys. And Oit Tanak will be trying to pick up as many points as for the championship because he's doing a full campaign.
Yeah, indeed. All right, well, we are going to try and hot-foot it over to Toyota. I think it'll be more wet-footed than anything. But in the meantime, let's listen in to that interview with Kalle Rovanperä.
Kalle, if you had to sum up the stages this morning, the three that you've been through, with just one word, what would it be?
Difficult.
Difficult, it has been, hasn't it? Changeable conditions, you've had dry, you've had wet out there. What have you thought of it all?
Yeah, it's difficult. I would say the first two ones were a bit more clear. Of course, there was a lot of cutting and stuff like this. I was not really taking a lot of risk on there, not even in the cuts. So I would say quite steady pace from us, taking a bit of risk out on the rough places, and everything will work quite well.
You had a really brilliant pass through on Sleeping Warrior where others were falling by the wayside with tyre damage or whatever dramas. What was so special on Sleeping Warrior for you? Was it just what you described, staying out of trouble and knowing where to push?
Yeah, I would say I felt that I was driving quite fast always when the condition was good, even in the mud, and then yeah, when it was rough, I still took quite good care of the tires and the car, and yeah, it worked out well.
How tough was the opening sector of the stage, or where the mud certainly came in and the standing water? How tricky was that for you?
It's always tricky here. You can have big puddles where you really don't even steer the car anymore and stuff like that, so you just try to manage through them. So yeah, it can be interesting afternoon if the rain comes.
Well, if it's been difficult this morning, I can't wait to hear the words you're going to use to describe this afternoon, because conditions are set to change from what we hear.
Yeah, let's say our position is at the moment pretty good, so normally I like the rain, but now I could drive without it.
So you're not doing any rain dances at the moment then, no?
Jenny, you seem to be the only person responsible for this rain, then no one else is doing a rain dance.
Bring it on. I think it's good. I think this is good for the sport. It's good for everybody.
It's not good for my hair, just in case anyone was really concerned about that.
Yeah, look, your hair aside, I think it throws a nice, fun spanner in the works. Although that being said, from what we know from what Seb Marshall was saying, is it still bone dry out on the stages?
Yeah, indeed. All right, well, there is so much water behind, and you know, in M Sport particularly, it seemed like they were in just a little bit of a curve in there. They were sort of mopping up the water as they were going, same as they are doing here. A little bit more shelter just here at Toyota, but there we go. The mops, are
even Jari Matti Latvala are getting stuck in there. Go on, Jari Matti, you're doing a great job. Stick at it. Yeah, team player.
Yeah, Jari does like getting stuck in, doesn't he? Fantastic, amazing that. But it is, to be honest, that is the one thing that we'll take away from Safari Rally Kenya every single year that we come here. This is a full-on team effort, from Sebastian Ogier doing repairs on his car, I think, to Esa Pekka-Lappi also doing that last year, to Jari Matti Latvala getting involved. This is, every single man has got a job.
You're absolutely right, you know, and it's, you're only as good as your weakest man, and that's how a race or a rally team works, isn't it? Well, it's true, you know, so you know, that it's all about having the right people around you and good morale within the team and everybody working together and enjoying it. And we say in the commentary, it's not just the drivers who've got to enjoy the rally, and everybody here has to enjoy it and pull together and be a team. And the thing as well that I really love about Safari Rally Kenya are the inconsistencies. You know, not just out on the stage, the weather. It's a different. Everybody using tents, different setups here. This isn't the traditional European.
It's a long haul setup,
yes,
basically.
Exactly.
So it's sort of lighter.
Haul,
unfortunately for all the teams, it's a lighter tent setup, which does mean when the heavens open, it's not the most amazing place to be.
It's all just a little bit. It's all just a little bit tighter and everything else. So yeah, it's just brilliant. I think it's great.
All right. Well, of course, Media Zone happened a bit earlier on. The weather was a lot different about half an hour ago. We are still getting information in that it is dry on the stages. Now that's Evans coming into the media zone. That's just the damage that we've seen from those punctures. Jenny, again, we talk a lot about cosmetics, but Scott obviously taking those pictures just to give a heads up to mechanics.
Yeah, he'd just be taking photographs, be passing that on to engineers and everybody else too. And I think that's actually in the regroup, the Parc Fermé zone, if you like, where the guys can't touch the cars, the mechanics can't come and touch the cars before they come into the media zone. So they'll just be passing that on to the team. But I don't really think there was a great deal of damage to the corner of Elvin's car. I think it was mainly cosmetic, but unfortunately those two punctures have really stalled his progress this weekend.
Yeah, I mean it's a big gap, but I think we've really just got to focus on the fact that this afternoon could change everything on its head. I mean, when we went out this morning, Thierry was in a very different position to where he was. Elvin was looking very strong. It's changed so quickly for Elvin twice. It could change again in the right way.
Yeah, you're 100% right, and you know, I actually feel a bit bad saying, oh, you know, it's been difficult on Elvin and this, that, and the other, because anything can happen. Yeah. It's happened to Elvin this morning. Will it happen to Thierry Neuville this afternoon? Will it happen to Calais Taka? You can't answer it, and that's again one of the things that makes this rally so unique. You know, if we were somewhere else, you can kind of get a bit of a vibe. We all have that feeling in the pit of our stomachs. This is going to stay the way that it is, but here, no chance. Anything can still happen. And we're only halfway through the rally.
Yeah, indeed. All right, well, how's Elfyn Evans feeling? Bex Williams found out.
Elfyn, some disappointment out there this morning. Straight away, talk me through what went on the morning stages.
Yeah, not been a great morning at all. Of course, we had a puncture early on in the first stage of the loop. Not as sure why we got it. We just got an alarm on the dash, which was the first thing we knew about it, but hadn't felt anything at that stage. So we continued for a while before we were sure that it definitely was, and then we, of course, had to stop to change. It was so early in the stage. And yeah, in the middle stage, a lot of cuts changing, let's say, from the recce, and also had a herd of, is it a herd of zebras, you say, crossing?
That's a good question.
Well, it was about 20 of them anyway. And
let's call it a herd, shall we?
And there was the worst time of the stage they could have picked to do it right in the middle of a 600 or a 1 kilometre straight. So yeah, to go down to third gear there wasn't the best way, but yeah, and then of course the last one, another puncture, so it's not been a great morning.
It's not been the best of mornings, but as we know at Safari Rally, it can all change around, and this afternoon is the prime example potentially of that, because there is the major threat of rain. We've been talking about what it does to the surface here, but you're the man who knows the best, so tell us exactly
Why do I know the best?
Because you drive on it. Did you not do that this morning?
No.
Did my eyes deceive me?
It wasn't raining this morning.
But it was a little bit wet. You've driven in rain before?
A few times.
Don't be difficult, Evans.
Not that often. I live in Wales.
But it's a little bit different here than, let's say, gravel rallies when we're in Europe. The surface here is different. So when it does rain, what happens?
I think it's the intensity that's the key factor, and of course the ground is so hard it just sits on the top until it has time to sink in. So of course then, even though we have a gravel tyre, the aquaplaning is crazy. So yeah, if it does rain, it's probably going to be very difficult. So
it could all change around this afternoon then. It's the opportunity maybe to make a difference in difficult conditions.
Yeah, sure, and to try and get through it. It's a very fine balance to find.
Williams and the wildlife. Well, it can be called a dazzle of zebras as well as a herd of zebras. So I think a bit of Welsh wildlife descriptions was bang on there.
You just Googled that, didn't you?
Yeah, obviously. How would I know that?
Yeah, interesting what Elfyn Evans was saying there as well, you know, and he certainly hasn't given up, and he understands the unpredictabilities that this rally can throw up. But like yesterday morning was a difficult morning for him, this morning probably even more so, and yeah, to drop from second to fifth, disappointing, but yeah.
It's so difficult each time to pick yourself back up, isn't it? Because you've had what you deem as bad luck. The luck swings in your favour, and then yet again it comes again. So now Elfyn's back at that point. He's got to pick himself up. He's got to get back into the game and back into these next three stages and see what he can make of it.
Yeah, but you know, look, that's rallying at the end of the day.
That's life, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how it works. That's the sport. That's rallying, and you know, for Elfyn and Scott, they just have to keep themselves together, keep their heads together, and go out and make the most of the package they've got underneath him, and hope and pray they don't come across any wild rocks or any more wildlife. And
there's plenty out there. That's
there
for
is,
sure.
Absolutely, but they've just got to hope and pray that they can maximise their opportunities this afternoon.
I think that's the name of the game, isn't it? Okay, well, we have got Taka with Bex Williams, who is still stuck in the media zone. If anyone wants to send some help down to her, but it is a yeah, but maybe a boat, yeah, something like that, or a surfboard. I don't know, but anyway, she's with Taka right now.
Taka, it was a great battle this morning. Brilliant time on the opening stage from you to take the fastest time. Another great time on the next one, and then Sleeping Warrior, where everyone seemed to have an issue. Sleeping Warrior every year. What is it about that stage? What was the challenge?
Stage itself is, of course, it's difficult, but the other two stages are also quite difficult. I think this year issue is that there was not clear places like uncut blocks. They put very random, and also which is very hidden, so you don't know where the rocks. So basically everybody going like fifth gear, 140, 60 kph, going through the bushes. Then there is sometimes rocks, sometimes not. Then obviously I've got puncture, I hit something. There was nothing on the recce, so I'm very surprised why there was a rock. So, but this can happen. I think everybody similar situation. So yeah, very unfortunate, but you need luck also this kind of race, or you need to be 1 minute slowing down, then through the stage. Two options.
Yeah, it's really difficult. It's so unique here at the Safari Rally with what you have to do. Tell me what the plan is for this afternoon and what you're expecting from conditions on the second pass.
To be honest, I heard gonna be quite very different condition than this morning. So I think I'm pretty happy, to be honest, because I have still a chance to gain some position because of this condition. If I'm be smart without
Or
problem.
brave?
No, I don't think brave it will work well.
No?
I learned from last year, so it's okay. I try to be smart and avoiding the mistakes this afternoon. I think this is a main thing, but still mistake can happen because conditions are horrible.
So you're hearing the rain is coming then?
I cannot say that, but yes, I think everybody expecting that.
Good luck this afternoon. Thank you, Taka.
Thank you.
Well, Taka may just be right about that. I think the rain is coming. Now, somebody just said the rain has stopped here. It hasn't. It might look like it has, but it hasn't. All right, just a few shots into sort of what goes on in between the stages.
Yeah, just Jonne getting a bit of physio from Dan, the Toyota physio. He's one of the best in the business, and that's so important. And then of course you can see Aaron Johnson, Kalle Rovanperä having a bit of lunch, and to the right of Aaron you've got Takamoto Katsuta and Elvin Evans, and they're looking at onboards and reviewing videos, checking pace notes, doing all that they can. And meanwhile out here it's all systems go on servicing the cars. And I just want to come back to talk to Takamoto. I really would love to see him get on the podium again. This place has been so good to him in the past, and after what happened to him in Sweden when that rally win was on the cards, I just want to see consistent podiums for him now. He's one of the most popular guys in the service park. He's a top lad.
Yeah, I think he'll want that very much as well. Okay, well, WRC2, the battle is on. Gus Greensmith has the advantage on that battle at the moment. Now, of course, Gus down in that media zone a bit earlier on as well. So let's head down and have a listen in with Bex Williams.
Gus, I have to say you're my hero this morning. Not because you're doing what you're doing ill, which I fully appreciate, but you had a wasp in the car on the last stage, buzzing around you and Jonas, not distracted by that at all. So I bow down to your superior nature. How are you feeling?
I thought it can't possibly get worse, so I was convinced that I wasn't going to get stung. But yeah, for sure, it was a bit of a surprise when halfway through the stage it appeared. But yeah, thankfully it didn't sting us.
Thank goodness. Now, I know you've been under the weather. You said you had a little bit more energy today. I have to say, the sparkle's back in your eye today, so you're absolutely on the mend.
I wouldn't say that, no, definitely not.
It's still affecting you then, yeah. And they're challenging stages, you know, the amount of concentration you have to have anyway, maximise that by 10, 11, 12, 100 here.
It's mostly in the fast sections, just where like really struggling with that hydration or dehydration at the moment. As soon as it gets rough and bumpy, I'm just really struggling to see the road. So having to take it a bit easy, not to make any mistakes. But we had a really big lead, so I've tried to use that as much as I can, just to allow myself a little bit of room for error. And once we're happy, we've done a pass, then yeah, this afternoon we can go a bit harder. And not really bothered if we lose more time, but just manage it a bit more.
Wise words. Difficult stages, especially Sleeping Warrior. The new end section seems particularly rocky.
Yeah, for sure. The really slow section has a lot of things that you can hit and break. And then, the last part, again, very, very tricky. It's a very, very difficult 3 stages today. And then, this afternoon will be the same again.
Good luck out there.
Thank you.
Williams and the wildlife again, this time with a wasp. Okay, well, Gus, as Bex was trying to get to, feeling better, but he says not. I saw Dad walking down there, just trying to give him a few, remedies, some of the old-fashioned remedies, a bit of a fizzy drink without the fizz in it.
Yeah, the issue that Gus has got is an upset stomach, so he's finding it really hard to remain hydrated, basically, Kiri. You know, what's going in is coming out fairly quickly. That's a polite way of putting it. So he is finding it difficult to stay hydrated, and it's so important here because, as we know, it gets so hot.
So that's on our screen. Sorry, just about it. Oitanak on our screens now. Oh, he's got to get his head back in the game, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, but I mean, as I said, the damage has already been done. It's tomorrow that he's really got to get stuck in, isn't it? He's, today, this afternoon, he's got to go out and get round.
What could get worse? Let's say that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say getting his head in the game is because I think it's already there. Tomorrow is when there's big pressure on him to try and score points. But yeah, for me, for Oitanak this afternoon, get round, keep the car straight, don't give the mechanics or the engineers, a big service tonight. Make sure the car is comes back in relative one piece. come up with a plan tomorrow, stick to it, but he has to. I think it's tomorrow that he really needs to be in the game and wring the neck of that Hyundai and draw every single ounce of performance out of it as he can.
Well, we just skip back to that, but just talking WRC2 again, what can Oliver do from the place that he's at? Obviously, it's a significant difference. It's dropped down a bit. It was 3 minutes earlier on this morning. Now it's 2:25, I think. So there's a big gap, but Oliver, again, is sort of what everybody's doing, just getting through and not making any errors and waiting.
Yeah, it's been a game of two halves for Oliver so far, hasn't it? I mean, he was. You can see there, you go 2 minutes 22, the difference between Gus Greensmith and Oliver Solberg with Kajtanovic in third. But look, I think just coming back to what you were saying, Kiri, for Oliver, when he started out of the rally, he was doing everything he could to avoid punctures and picked up 2. Now he's going hell for leather and he's not picking up any punctures, so he needs to stick to that strategy. But I think if Gus can manage his illness, he's a bit poorly, I think it will be difficult for Oliver to catch Gus on pace alone, assuming nothing happens. But if something happens, if Gus picks up a puncture, that gap will come down very, very quickly. But on pace alone, I think it's a big ask for Oliver.
Yeah, all right. Well, it's Gus, Oliver and Kaito who are 1, 2, 3 in the WRC2. Of course, we'll be keeping you up to date with everything that's going on in the WRC2 over the afternoon as well. Well, that went quickly indeed. Oit is back out. It does look like the rain has pretty much eased off here. Does that mean it's moving to the stages? The drivers also, before they got here, something that we mentioned on a bit earlier on actually, is that they go through this little zone where they can do autograph signing, and that's at a place called the Buffalo Mall. Just take a look at this because it just gives you an idea of how many fans are here. That's Thierry and Esa-Pekka, but the fans just absolutely love this. It is one of the most popular events that we come to in terms of fans. They're fence climbing, it's all go. Taka handing out his signed cards as well. Kalle Rothenpera there, just giving the fans a little bit of a taste of his signed cards.
Yeah, we saw these nice images coming in earlier as well, didn't we? And it is so nice, Kiri, for our sport to give something back, and and the fans, they love it. They absolutely love it. And we've been giving out free hats and all sorts of stuff, and everybody's become. It really has felt like one big community. We've been made so welcome here, and to see these pictures are lovely. It's so nice to see, and as I say, I think it's really important that we give something back.
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it, as they are out on the stages as well. Just gives you an idea of this mad atmosphere, rain or shine. This place just buzzes. It just has a vibe like no other. So we're heading out into the afternoon. The rain comes, this is going to be one to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and I hope it does. I really hope the biblical rain that we have seen here moves,
What was the heavenly rain?
I don't know, that's a long discussion and not for now. But I really hope that it does come later.
Okay, so Chenny, you're looking at stage 11, 12 and 13. Sleeping Warrior, the last of those, which will be 13. Will it be lucky for some? 2:30, 3:30 and 4:30. 6:15, back in the media zone. Will Kalle Rothenpera still be leading our rally? Will Gus Greensmith still be leading WRC2? All the questions and all the answers on the way. It is about an hour and so before we get to that stage, so 2:30 local time. These cars have got to head out to the stages, so it's a road section that they've got to do, and then we'll be ready for a bit more action.
Yeah, and if this morning was anything to go by, I think it's going to be really atrocious, very, very difficult. We've seen punctures. I'm sure we'll see more this afternoon, but I really, really hope, Kiri, that the weather just throws a little spanner in the works. We love a bit of drama, and for me, I'd like to see a bit more rain, particularly on Sleeping Warrior, because it's a real test for the drivers and the cars.
How many more issues can we have this afternoon? Pretty much everything that could happen happened. So, yeah, it's endless possibilities of what drama could unfold.
Yeah, of course. It's a long, long day today. It's a long afternoon as well. And as I said, if the weather does turn up, it'll get very, very interesting indeed.
Okay, are you ready for this? Not long to wait now until we head back out into the afternoon loop here in Kenya. Rain pouring down on the service park. Will it reach the stages? There's plenty of time for that to happen. So make sure you stick with us for all of the afternoon's action. It's goodbye for now.